The average Social Security benefit today is just a little shy of $1,800 a month. But did you realize that there are some people that actually get doubled that amount? And so the question we all have to ask ourselves, is there any way that we can maximize our Social Security benefit? And the answer is yes. Now, we may not get that doubled amount, but there are some things that we can do. So in this video, I'm actually going to share with you 5 ways that you can maximize your Social Security benefit. All right, so the first thing that we can do to maximize that benefit would be the obvious, and that is to increase our income. But let me show you why this is so important. When Social Security calculates our benefit when it's time to retire, what they're going to do is they're going to take our top 35 years worth of earnings. Top 35 of all the years that you've worked. And what they do is they actually apply a wage index to that. So they're actually going to index that up. And they take those wages we made 20 years ago and they actually apply this wage index, and they apply that up until age 60. And then after that, there's no index applied to it. But the point is, top 35 years indexed up. And when they index this up, what's going to happen is they're going to multiply all that money out, and we're going to have a total amount of lifetime earnings, which is usually, a couple $1 million or maybe even more. And they take that number and they divide that by 420 months. And when they make that division, what they're going to arrive at is another calculation called average index monthly earnings. And this is a very important number. Again, it's 420 divided by our lifetime earnings, has average index monthly earnings. So they take this number and then they apply some what they call bin points to this. Bin points simply mean that of the first $1,174 of my average index monthly earnings, I'm actually going to get 90% of that. Right? And then above that, up to $7,078, I'm going to get 32% of that. And if I happen to be someone that's above the 7,078, then I actually get whatever that number would be. I'm going to get 15% of that. And so here's my point. We're trying to do everything we can to get this number up. So what I want to do, I want to try to make as much money as I can so that total lifetime earnings, when it's divided by 420, is going to have a fairly good number right here. But my point is, this right here then determines exactly what our monthly Social Security check is going to be. We actually call this our primary insurance amount. So we're trying to get this number as large as possible, so that can be as large as possible. So if you can, maybe overtime or whatever you're going to do to be able to increase that income, because it's going to help you long-term with your Social Security benefits. Now, the second thing we can do is we actually can work longer. And again, this is obvious as well, but one reason I mention this is because we know that the government's going to take the top 35 years. There's sometimes people don't have 35 years of Social Security taxes paid in, which simply means they're going to have some zeros. So if someone only worked 25 years or 30 years, they're going to have a 5 or 10 zeros, because when they divide that out, they're still going to use those 420 months. And so if someone can, we want to work longer, at least to try to get to 35 years. Now, if they already have 35 years and they keep working, then what's going to happen, if some of their later years are going to be higher income than earlier years, then some of those lower years in income will be knocked out by that higher income. All right. And so it just makes sense to try to get at least to 35 years and maybe even beyond that if you can, to make sure that you got those highest amount of years where you're making your greater income that's going to be applied to this particular equation. So we increase our income and we want to work longer if we can. And then number 3, let's look at it. All right, so this scenario, number 3, has to do with somebody that has decided to go ahead and take their Social Security benefits prior to reaching their full retirement age, meaning this person has already elected to take. And so what happens is, if they're making above a certain limit called the earnings test, then their Social Security benefit is going to be reduced. And it is true that they'll get that money back in the future, but again, it's not going to be lump sum, it's going to be prorated. And so if someone decides to go ahead and take Social Security while they're still working, the way to keep that benefit up is to make sure, if possible, they stay below that earnings limit. So let me explain. Let's just say that someone was born, let's just call it they're born 11/4/1958. Okay, 11/4/1958. This would be someone that has a full retirement age of 66 plus 8 months. If someone's born in 1959, they'd added 10 months. 1960 thereafter is always 67. But someone born 11/4/1958 would have a full retirement age of 66 plus 8 months. All right, so let's look at this. Let's find out when they're full retirement age. So they would have turned 66 in 2024. Actually, this year, later this year, but not yet full retirement age because we got to add 8 months to that. And so the way we'd count those 8 months, we would say December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So in July of 2025, this person would have reached their full retirement age, also called normal retirement age, the month and the year. All right, so if they decide that they're going to go ahead and take their Social Security benefits before reaching their full retirement age, they're now subject to the earnings test. And what they're going to test earnings is simply wages only. Net self-employment income, W-2 income, that's all discounted. There's no rental income here, investment income, distributions from IRAs, 401ks, no pension income, annuity income, that kind of thing, just working wages of the person that's taking Social Security. So that's what they're going to test. So what we have, when we have the test, we have a couple different numbers. We have what I always refer to as the low earnings test number, and then we have the higher number. All right, so let's go back to our example. Somebody that is born 11/4/1958 with a full retirement age right here. So this person was eligible to take their Social Security at 62. That's the youngest. So they actually could have started, what, 11/1 of 2020. So 11/1 of 2020, they could have began taking Social Security at 62. And they're going to be at the lower earnings test amount all the way until December before the year they turn full retirement age. So that would be 2024. So 11/20/20 all the way through 12 of 2024, they will be subject to the lowest earnings test limit if they're going to continue to work. And so that number this year is $22,320. So if they stay below that in wages, then there's not going to be any impact to their Social Security. They have the highest benefit they can get, $22,320. But if they make above that, for every $2 they make above the limit, the Social Security Department actually withholds $1 from their check. So let's keep it simple. Let's say this person is entitled to $2,000 in Social Security benefit a month right now, $2,000. And let's say they're going to be above this limit by, let's say, $8,000. So they actually had $30,320. They're above $8,000, and for every $2 above, they take $1 out. So they're actually going to withhold $4,000 in penalty. And so if I'm getting a $2,000 a month check and they're going to withhold $4,000, that means they're going to withhold 2 full Social Security checks before they actually start turning on my Social Security benefit, because that penalty amount is always front-loaded. Now, I'm very well aware that you eventually get that money back, but it is not going to be lump sum. They're going to recalculate your benefit when you get your full retirement age. So you will get it back, but it's kind of prorated over a period of time. All right, so my whole point is this. We're subject to the lower earnings test from the time we can start taking at 62 up until that December of the year prior to turning full retirement age. Then we have a higher number. It's going to change. It's going to go up. So in my example, this person turns full retirement age here. So this would be in January of 2025. Now watch. All the way up until the month before this. So in this example, this would be June of 2025. They're going to be at the higher amount. The higher amount this year in 2024 is $59,520 a year. And if we make $3 above that, they take $1 out of our check. So every 3 above, they take 1. So as you can see, we can almost make 3 times the amount of money during this period of time, and the penalty is going to be less as well. So that's the higher amount. But here's the good news. Once someone has actually reached their full retirement age, then what happens is the earnings test goes away. We are no longer subject to an earnings test whatsoever once we've reached our full retirement age. So if someone wants to go back to work, it's fine while they're taking Social Security if they're below full retirement age, as long as they stay below these amounts. If not, their Social Security check is going to be impacted. Hey, if you found this video helpful and you want to see more Medicare information just like it, then go below, right below the video, and you can give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe to our channel. And every time I put a new video, which is about 2 every week, you'll be notified of that video, and others just like you who need this vital information will get it as well. All right, that brings us then to methodology number 4 to increase our benefits, and that is simply delay taking your Social Security. In other words, go beyond your full retirement age. So let's go back to our example that I posed here earlier. This was someone that was born 11/4/1958. We said their full retirement age was 66 plus 8 months. And when we counted it out, we said they hit their full retirement age of July of 2025. All right. And so if this person gets to full retirement age July of 2025, they will get what is called their full retirement age benefit, or their normal retirement age benefit, it's called. And this is that number I talked about earlier, which was our primary insurance amount. Top 35 years, indexed forward, total earnings over the lifetime divided by 420 months. That number is called the average index monthly earnings applied to those bin points, and that then arrives at our primary insurance amount, which we are entitled to if we will take, in this example, July 2025. But if someone decides they're going to take prior to this, what happens is for every month we lose 0.5%. So basically, let's keep it simple. Let's call it what it is, 6% a year. So if I take 1 year early, I'm going to lose 6%. All right. If I take 2 years early, I lose 12. If I take 3, I'm going to lose 18%. If I take 4, I'm going to lose 24%. And if I take 5 years early, I'm going to lose a full 30% of my benefit. And this reduction is actually a lifetime reduction. Now, my full retirement age, because I was born in 1961, is actually 67. If I took at 62, I didn't. I'm already beyond that. But if I took at 62, I would have lost a full 30% of my benefit. And again, it's lifetime. All right, so when people file early, they're of course going to have checks sooner and maybe longer, but they're going to have less amounts. All right, but what happens when I talk about delaying, here we take a reduction, but there's also a possibility of increasing this amount. And so what we can do is we can take later. So if I take 1 year beyond my full retirement age, I actually grew that account. Let's go back here, and I grew that account a full 8%. If I take 2 years later, I grew at 16%, and 3 years later, I would grow a full 24%. Now again, this is the annual amount. It's actually 0.67% a month it grows. We're down here, we lost 0.5%. All right, now, years ago, when people had a full retirement age of 66 or before that, they actually could have grown that account a full 32%. People can't do that any longer just because they've been adding these months to our full retirement age. But here's my point. We actually can grow the account. Those are called delayed retirement credits, all right? And so that's actually what I plan to do. I hope I can go to 70 before I take Social Security. And so the whole decision here really has to do with if someone needs the money, then they're probably going to take it early. But they don't need the money, then they may want to wait and let that money grow. And sometimes people don't live long enough where this pays off. But if their spouse is entitled, which they are, to a survivor benefit, that spouse could benefit from you delaying your Social Security until age 70, because survivor benefit is always 100% of what the person was entitled to when they passed away. Spousal is only 50% at full retirement age, but survivor is always 100%. So again, the point is we actually can grow this. If you live long enough, it's going to pay off. And even if you don't, if your spouse lives long enough, they will benefit by you delaying taking your Social Security beyond the full retirement age. Hey, Medicare can be very confusing. In fact, people make mistakes all the time because of how confusing it is. So what I've done is I've actually created a Medicare, notice this, Essentials Workshop, where you have the opportunity to really learn everything that you need to know about Medicare so that you can make Medicare decisions. There are thousands of people every month that watch this workshop, and we get lots of reviews saying that this is something that really was helpful to them. And so what you can do is down here below in the comments section, you'll see where it says pinned comment. At the very top of those pinned comments is a link. And you click on that link, what we're going to do is we're going to give you free access to this Medicare Essentials Workshop. And we want you to watch it because we don't want you to make any mistakes. All right, that brings us then to the fifth and final way in which you can increase your benefit. And I want to just note this here. This says if eligible. So not everyone's going to be able to do this, but there are many that can. And so I want to make sure that everyone understands this is an option for you to increase your benefit. Now, let me just give you just a little bit of education about Social Security. There's actually 4 ways in which people take Social Security. They can take their own retirement benefit, they can take spousal, they can take survivor benefit, and they also have disability. Okay. Now, by the way, in this video, I'm really not referring to that, but I want to make sure you know that's one way people can take. So I'm really focused on these right here as we talk about being eligible for other benefits. So here's what could happen. Let's say that a person is receiving their own retirement benefits. Let's say they waited to their own full retirement age, so there was no reduction in benefit. But let's just say they didn't have a real high primary insurance amount, and all they're doing is getting $1,000 a month. Okay, but but this person happens to be married. And so then their spouse is higher income. And so let's say now the spouse turns on their own full retirement age. And let's say that spouse is entitled to $3,600. And there's people that are entitled to that today. In other words, this is someone that would have maxed out $3,600. What can happen once this spouse starts taking, then this other spouse actually can then apply for a spousal benefit, and they would be eligible for 50%. Again, with no penalties because they didn't take early, 50% of that amount here. So they actually could get an $1,800 benefit. It'd be $1,000 of their own with an additional $800 coming through that spousal type benefit. So again, they just increased that by 80%, all right? And so again, this can happen. So if the lower income earner took first, as long as they took it at full retirement age, there will be no penalty whatsoever in this scenario. Now, right now, this spouse does have to file. Used to, the rules were different, but now the spouse has to have to file for you to be able to switch these benefits. So that would be one very easy way to increase it if indeed your spouse is higher income. All right, there's another way we can do this. We'll have this happen. We'll have people, let's say we have a widow or a widower, and they're going to take survivor benefits. And let's just say that benefit is, let's say, $1,500 a month. Okay, and again, we're assuming they took that at their full retirement age. And so what's happening though with survivor, they're getting what that previous deceased spouse was eligible for. But let's say this person is up here and they really were pretty high income, and let's say they were eligible for, on their own amount, $2,500. So what happens is they're getting the survivor benefit, and then their own retirement benefit continues to grow. In fact, this is the only way that someone's benefit can grow now if they're taking another benefit. In the old days, we could have both benefits growing. That's over. But when someone's on a survivor benefit, their own account continues to grow. So here, they're taking based upon the deceased spouse work record. And so once theirs, they get up to, let's say, age 70 or any age, and this amount exceeds, then what they do is they actually turn off survivor benefit and they apply for their own Social Security benefit. So what I'm trying to teach you is this. When someone takes survivor, their own account continues to grow. It goes beyond full retirement age. It's going to grow again that 8% a year, that 0.67% a month. So if they can survive off of this, then it's wise to let that account grow until age 70, and then they maximize their benefit. So you see what I'm getting at? So we're entitled to different types of benefits. And so we want to make sure that we're in touch with the Social Security office, making sure that they know we have these other possibilities, because it's not going to be automatic. So if you're receiving survivor and you want to do your own, you're going to have to call and make that appointment for them to switch those benefits, and you actually would reapply. Again, if you're getting your own retirement and then spousal are going to be more, you make contact with local Social Security office and you reapply, and they will increase that particular benefit. All right, and just one more reapplying for the benefits would be this. Let's say that you're getting spousal, which is only 50% of what your spouse was entitled to, and then when your spouse passes away, you actually can get more, because here you're going to be entitled to 100%. And it could be that maybe you're receiving your own retirement benefit and you're over here at $1,500, and then your spouse passes away and they're eligible for $3,000 plus, then again, you'd be eligible to reapply and then get that survivor benefit. So all you have to do is provide proof of death, a death certificate, and you can make this particular switch. And you would do that then, of course, through your local Social Security offices. So these are ways in which you can maximize your Social Security benefit.